If your team runs cloud workloads, AI services, developer pipelines, or internet-facing infrastructure, today's security question is simple. Which patch changes your blast radius first? This is Daily Tech Hack Global for August 9, 2026. The facts in this briefing come from NBD, CISA when reachable, and linked vendor advisories. I will keep the discussion defensive, no exploit commands, no payloads, and no step-by-step attack chains. The lead item is CVE-2026-10050. NBD describes it as, in Eclipse Jetty, the digest authentication server-side component uses ISO 8859-1 to encode the password as bytes. This was done because the initial specification for HTTP did not specify explicitly a char set, and it was assumed to be ISO 8859-1 for historical reasons. If the password contains characters that cannot be represented in ISO 8859-1, they are silently replaced by? This happens with passwords that contain Chinese, Cyrillic or Greek characters, for example, alphabeta 123 converts to 123 an attacker can. The recorded severity is critical with CVSS 9.1. Why it matters, prioritized by exposure, privilege, reachable credentials, and whether automation can amplify impact. The second item is CVE-2026-10050. NBD summarizes it as, Crayon CRM 2.2.4 contains a missing authentication vulnerability in the installer middleware that allows unauthenticated remote attackers to overwrite the primary administrator account by sending a crafted HTTP post request with the X requested with XML HTTP request header to bypass the can install middleware redirect check. Attackers can supply arbitrary name, email, and password values to the admin config setup endpoint, which performs an unauthenticated view. Severity is critical with CVSS 9.8. The operational takeaway is to map this advisory to exposed systems, service credentials, and any automation that can turn a small weakness into a larger incident. Item 3 is CVE 2026-68979. Apache NiFi 1.10.0 through 2.10.0 provide a parameter context update REST API method that does not enforce authorization checking on components referencing parameter values. Updating a parameter context can change parameter values that affect referencing components, but framework authorization was limited to read and write privileges on the parameter context itself. As a result of the missing authorization, and often. Severity, critical, CVSS 9.8. Defensive context, prioritized by exposure, privilege, reachable credentials, and whether automation can amplify impact. Item 4 is CVE 2026-68980. Apache NiFi 2.0.0 through 2.10.0 support creating, reading, and deleting assets associated with parameter contexts through the REST API. The framework authorizes asset deletion against the owning parameter context using the supplied parameter context identifier and asset identifier. The framework performed authorized based on the supplied parameter context identifier without verifying the requested identifier against. Severity, critical, CVSS 9.1. Defensive context, prioritized by exposure, privilege, reachable credentials, and whether automation can amplify impact. Here is the defender checklist. First, identify whether any affected product is internet-facing, reachable from CI systems, or reachable by AI agents and automation. Second, patch according to the vendor advisory, not just the headline score. Third, review service accounts, API keys, pod identities, OAuth apps, and tool credentials that could be reused if the affected system was compromised. Fourth, add monitoring around unusual admin actions, image pulls, tool calls, authentication failures, and outbound network requests. Fifth, document what was patched and what was deferred so tomorrow's team can audit the risk instead of rediscovering it. The larger lesson is that AI security is not only prompt security. It is the security of runtimes, cloud services, tool connectors, identity boundaries, and the operational process that decides what gets patched first. Patch what is exposed, reduce what is privileged, rotate what may have leaked, and make automation prove what it is allowed to touch.